This has got to be one of the dumbest decisions anyone has ever made in this show, and it's made even more nonsensical since the person making this choice is probably one of the smartest characters in... Before anyone has the chance to type this, I am aware that this happened in the comics, but here's the thing.
I don't care.
I really hate when people try to defend bad writing by saying that it happened in the source material, as if that's supposed to justify anything. Bad writing can exist no matter the medium. Just because Cecil kept Conquest alive in the comics does not make his decision to do so any less idiotic. Actually, it does quite the opposite, considering the Cecil we see in the show is way smarter than his comic counterpart, especially with his added role in the Omni-Man mystery during Season 1. Before I go and bash the writing, I'm actually going to play devil's advocate for a moment. The idea that Cecil would keep Conquest alive to gain information on the Viltrumites is actually in character for him. Throughout the show, and especially in Season 3, we are shown how paranoid Cecil is. During his flashback in Episode 2, his paranoia was the reason he had any sense to start a contingency file against Nolan, which eventually paid off. Despite it taking 20 years, his cautious nature was proven to be justified, and ever since the Guardians' death, he definitely has only grown more paranoid. And while we as viewers are aware that the Viltrumite population is shrinking, Cecil doesn't know that. For all he knows, there are a billion of these psychopaths coming to wreak havoc on Earth at any moment, and if they are even slightly as dangerous as the 3 that he's seen in action, then it's a no-brainer that he try anything to gain an advantage, even if it means keeping one of the most dangerous threats Mark has ever faced off against. With all of this being said, you might wonder why I still consider this to be a stupid decision. Well, if you wanted to keep Conquest alive for whatever reason, then why in the world did you make it so easy for him to escape?
He's in a 400-ton block of tungsten steel alloy 6 miles underground. If he so much as twitches, this whole place explodes.
Why do you think that would keep him at bay? No, like, seriously, can someone please explain to me how trapping him in a metal box is going to stop this lunatic from escaping? Did you not see him literally level an entire city earlier? And what do you mean?
If he so much as twitches, this whole place explodes.
My brother in Christ, did you not remember Nolan tanking multiple missiles back in Season 1? I'm not even sure explosives are even going to tickle Conquest, let alone deal any amount of damage. The worst part about all of this is despite Cecil basically having access to limitless resources at his fingertips, this is the best contingency plan he could come up with. Why not deploy a bunch of reanimen around him, or place those sonic emitters in his cage, or have Darkwing on standby to banish him to the I understand that the engineering wing was destroyed during the Invincible War, but during the season finale, the lab seemed to be back in condition with Sinclair working on the Mark variant, so what's the holdup? Plus, I'm sure it'll take a while before Conquest recovers, so why not use the time to place more contingencies? There are a dozen different ways I can pick apart this decision and suggest what they could have done instead, but then that would mean Conquest wouldn't be able to have his rematch with Mark, and I guess this is one of those times where the writers have to stretch logic for the sake of their story. Conquest is a fun character, and I'm glad they kept him alive. I just wish that they were able to keep him without sacrificing Cecil's intelligence. But hold on just a moment. The title of this video says that there's a way to fix this. Despite everything I've just talked about, there is actually a reasonable way that Conquest could be able to escape that not only respects Cecil's character, but could also serve as a payoff to something that happened back in Season 1. Back during the first season, Damien Darkblood rightfully deduced that Omni-Man had been the one responsible for the Guardians' death. Cecil would have probably came to the same conclusion earlier, considering he had already deduced that Nolan was lying when he first came to Earth. Knowing that Darkblood would have most likely revealed this suspicion the moment he had the chance, Cecil banished him back to Hell to both buy as much time to gather contingencies and keep himself safe, since if Darkblood had spilled the secret too early, then it's likely that one of Nolan's first priorities would be attacking the GDA and by proxy, Cecil. As he is getting banished, Darkblood is shown to resent Cecil for this, as from his point of view, it just looks like he's protecting Nolan for no reason, and I bet if he ever did find out the reason, it's doubtful that he'll be able to see it as a good excuse, considering he's a demon and all. Actually, I think Cecil worded it better than I ever could.
That's the problem with demons. You only see good and evil, black and white. Well, I need to keep things gray. until I can figure out why Nolan killed the Guardians and how to stop them.
Most comic fans assumed that this would be his last appearance, considering his minor role in the source material, but turns out they were wrong, as we later see Damian again in the Season 3 finale, where he converses with his master about conjuring up someone from the surface world to hell. This is very interesting, considering this storyline never even happened in the comics, with Robert Kirkman even going out to state that there will be an exclusive storyline involving Mark going to hell next season. When I heard this, the first thing I thought about was how they were possibly going to fit this in with the dozen other subplots that'll be happening next season. A lot of people have speculated on who Darkblood was referring to in his last scene, and how it could cause Mark to literally go to hell. Darkblood refers to this individual as
surface dweller of great power, with abilities that far exceed any other. His blackened heart will be bound to your service.
Now, your first answer might be Mark, considering he has recently forgone his no-kill rule, and him being summoned to hell is probably the most easiest explanation to why he's there in the first place. But I don't really like this, because for one, it's way too boring of an answer, and two, what purpose would sending Mark to hell have on the greater narrative? Not to mention why Damian would even choose him of all people to conjure up to hell. My next guess would be Omni-Man, considering that he's kind of the reason Darkblood's back in hell. Conjuring him up could be seen as a form of punishment in Damian's eyes. But here's the thing, Nolan isn't on Earth. And unless the writers want to completely break the story for them, I'm pretty sure he won't be able to get summoned if he's in space. The real question is if Darkblood even knows he left Earth. For all we know, Hell doesn't have any connection to information happening on the surface. This is where my personal theory comes in. I believe the person Darkblood will summon to Hell is Conquest. Now, hear me out. I know this sounds far-fetched. Darkblood probably doesn't even know about Conquest's existence, but consider this. What if the person he's referring to is Nolan, but because he's currently off-world, the ritual goes wrong, and it instead summons the next best thing? There is a slight issue with this. You could argue that if Darkblood were trying to summon Nolan, then wouldn't it be more likely to conjure up his son to hell, considering they are related by blood? And to that, all I have to say to you is,
You got me.
I have no idea what the writers are going to do. However, from a narrative point of view, this is just the most satisfying solution to me. Don't get me wrong though, this still doesn't fix the fact that Cecil's contingency plan for Conquest is complete buns and should 100% be destroyed just from how idiotic it is. My only fix to that is for them to add an extra scene in the next season of Cecil deploying Reanimate in his cage with a sonic emitter ready in his hand. Maybe it could be the scene where Conquest gets summoned to hell and they'll be able to recreate this hilarious panel from the comics. From the few bits of dialogue we got, it seems that Darkblood is doing this to help enlist his master as the ruler of hell after he presumably got dethroned. The only explanation as to why he's doing this now of all times is probably because his master got dethroned recently, or else why wouldn't he have done this while Nolan was still on Earth, assuming that the person he's referring to even is Nolan. We have no idea what Darkblood has been doing this whole time, but I hope they stay true to his character. I really enjoyed his expanded role from the show in comparison to his comic counterpart, where he's basically treated as a joke. So I hope they don't reduce him to some generic demon antagonist in the 4th season. That's all I have for this video. We'll see if I'll be proven right when the next season comes out. And despite my criticisms, just know that I still really enjoy this show. The moments of quality that it often displays is what really keeps me hooked, which is why flaws like this have to be pointed out, because I know what the writers are capable of. So remember,
be bold, be original, be